Hi, if this is the first time to my channel, welcome. My name is Luella, and today I want to speak to you about how to get along with one another. Now, this message applies to everyone, your family, your neighbors, or even the guy who cut you off on the freeway. Think back to the last time that someone really made your blood boil. I mean, what's the first thing your mind does? I'll tell you what I do. I start listing every reason why this person is flawed, why I'm right, and why they're wrong. I think most of us do this. It can't just be me. But the problem is then that story starts to loop. It festers. It smolders. Like you have to think, what is that? Well, it's the opposite of love. It's resentment at its core. It's destructive. A therapist, which is who I am, or I guess how I can identify myself as, might suggest to you, well, how about thinking positive thoughts? Maybe you should be practicing gratitude or writing affirmations like, I am love or I am kind. I've even given this advice to my clients. Lots of times I've given this advice to my clients. But let me be honest with you. Thinking good thoughts alone won't change your temperament. You can't will yourself into becoming a person who never feels resentment through affirmations such as I listed. That loop of anger and judgment is deeper than surface level positivity. You can't trick yourself into becoming, a kinder, more compassionate, more loving person. And, while I I respect science, what people like Joe Dispenza and Bruce Lipton teach us is fascinating, but it's incomplete. Like, if you don't know who Joe Dispenza or Bruce Lipton is, Lipton was the first one to sort of talk about the biology of belief, which is, whatever our minds deeply believe is what's going to become our reality. And I completely agree with that. But the reason I say that it's incomplete is that it is science in terms of the power of our mind. I mean, it's based in science. It's based in our physiology and our psychology. But you have to remember that science only exists because God created it. God is science. They're not separate, the two. And you are not separate from God. So if you want to truly, truly change your temperament, if you want to stop reacting with anger or judgment, it's not just about self-will. You need to look towards the source of free will and act accordance to that source. In other words, you don't get to choose how you want to act or respond and see it as your right. I have the right to be angry. I had every sort of right to yell at that person, or I had every sort of right to hit that person back, or I have every sort of right to cut the other person off on the highway that cut me off. It's not your right. That's where you're wrong. Your right or gift is to freely allow to love someone. Because as they say, love counters all. It counters the worst of evils. So my point is even the best intentions can fall short. They fall short because you are a flawed human being and you only have so much strength. We all know that. We start our days with the best of the best intentions at time. And like even on the simplest levels, I mean, like for example, I'll share with you that during the Christmas season, I was given this beautiful book on sourdough, and I'm new to the whole idea. I guess I missed the memo during COVID. I didn't start baking sourdough, but I was given this beautiful book by a lovely friend of mine, and I made it once last weekend, and it was great. Like, I mean, I'm actually quite proud of myself. It wasn't as spongy as, um, someone who's more of an expert at this, but it was okay. It was good. And but it was a little bit time consuming in the sense that, it's just like, I mean, she gave me this analogy and it's so true. Like the first time you start driving a car, it can be very overwhelming because there's a lot of like little steps that kind of need to do. Like you got to know where to, place your foot on the brake. I mean, it's kind of important. So it takes a little bit of brain power on my part. I intend to do it tomorrow. Tomorrow's Saturday. It could be really easy for me to go, maybe I'll just buy a loaf, or maybe, I mean, maybe I'm not that kind of person that bakes bread. It's excuses, basically. And just as it's an excuse that you're going to say, this person deserves, that my anger. I have the right to be angry, and I have the right to raise my voice, and I have the right to, kind of the eye for an eye and tooth for a tooth mentality. That's where people go so wrong. It's my right to be like that. It's not your right to be like that. I mean, I think that's my point in even giving you the example of the sourdough is we're weak. Like we're very weak as a human race, and we need help from someone who has a lot more strength than we do. And typically that being is God or your creator, however you want to term it. I think once a person realizes that by relying on their ego-driven nature, which is what I'm speaking of, like because you think like you're the almighty and I can do this, like that's where we go wrong. And we love feeding our ego in that way. So that nature of yours won't be enough. I mean, that's when you often need to turn towards God. I mean, think of the father of a family who desperately wants to stop drinking for his family. His intention is good. Most of our intentions are good, just like my intention tomorrow morning will be good. But I need to seek some help from above sometimes. And it's okay to ask for that through prayer. Intention alone doesn't often bring transformation. You need help from another person or God. It's not to say that another person can't help you. It could be a very supportive spouse. It could be a therapist. It could be a coach. Many of us rely on that extra incentive, that extra motivation that some of us need, that extra kick in the butt, to get going. I mean, I could easily also maybe message her tomorrow morning, my friend, and say, send me a message at 8:30, like make sure I feed whatever the starter, or tonight, I should say. Of course, it's not just relying on one thing. We rely on many other people, and through their kindness and compassion, that's how we can support one another. So, yeah, to me, the only way through this is grace. I mean, let's go back to that moment when someone made your blood boil. That reaction wasn't something you could simply will away. It's woven deep into the fabric of our being human. Whether it's genetic, societal, whatever shaped whatever shaped by internal forces, it became there, it's there now. It's there. So some might say, figure out where it comes from and then you'll be free. That's sort of like a psychoanalytic method of approaching it, like find the source. Once you find the source, then you'll be free of it. Well, no, that's not always that helpful. I know many clients know the source of their behavior, but it's not making it much easier for them to get rid of that behavior. So knowing its origin really doesn't often change the pattern. Now, others might say reframe it. I mean, this is cognitive behavioral therapy, is reframing your thoughts. But does that stop the loop? Rarely. The truth is, you need to change who you are to break free from those cycles of resentment and judgment. And the judgment, the resentment, the anger, I mean, getting rid of that, it's an incredible transformation that you need to make. And it isn't easy. But like I said, there's good news in the sense that you don't have to do it alone. And really, that's my message to you today. You don't need to do it alone. And if the people around you want to help you and they have very good intentions as well, and you feel like you have lots of support, then bless you. You're in a very good position. Some people don't feel like they have that. And I think those are the people I'm speaking towards right now, is that you need more help, and perhaps that help is from above. So I hope this was helpful for you. The next time you're like, oh, that person, think about this and maybe listen to it again. Thanks for watching. Always happy to hear your comments. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. It really helps. Thank you.